Hello and welcome to Week 16. It is the championship weekend for about 99.9% of leagues, although some play two-week finals where Week 17 is also included, and some play other leagues where they were done last week, and then there's the Week 17, and some people even go into the playoffs, which makes for very weird leagues. But Matt, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. How about you?
Good. I'm doing pretty good. I am in 3 finals, 1 third-place game, out of me 7 leagues. It would be 8, but I'm not counting the Benny Snell league because that's on you. In 2 leagues, I didn't make the playoffs, and in 1 other league, you didn't make the playoffs for me. So,
Okay.
Matt, how about you?
I'm in 3 finals and 2 third-place games out of 9. I'll move down to 8 because you started the wrong defense in the Benny Snell league.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's go over some surprise inactives. Actives. We do have Julio out, which was, I guess, known. Gibson is active, but Terry McLaurin is not. Who will be the number 1 wide receiver there? Will it be J.D. McKissic?
I think, maybe, yeah.
Or Logan Thomas?
Maybe Sims will be the top wide receiver, but not playable.
No. With Zeke expected to play, Pollard is basically what? I think it's split. I have Pollard one spot ahead of Elliott in the rankings because they split last time they both played.
But it's just not a great situation to start either of them, really.
No, it's not. But
I would still lean Elliott.
I wouldn't. I think Pollard's been the better running back. He was the last time. There's no point in Zeke playing. Like, I know they technically can win the division, but Pollard's been good. And if you can showcase Pollard here, you can possibly trade him in the offseason because you can't trade Zeke.
Well, Pollard just really had that one big run at the end of the last game. He wasn't that great before that.
He was better than him when they split, though, too.
Yeah.
And Zeke's been pretty bad. But
yeah.
Anyways, let's get into the weather. What is the weather forecast, Matt?
Overall, pretty good. We can't ask for much better in the end of December. Unfortunately, one of the bigger fantasy games, which a lot of fantasy studs in it, they are expecting cooler temperatures and some snow in our Sunday nighter with the Titans visiting Green Bay. A little bit of wind there as well, not terribly strong winds, but a little bit. But some snow, lots of snow during the day. It's supposed to peter off a little bit towards the evening, which will help. But yeah, not ideal weather conditions, of course, in December for Green Bay.
The standard for Green Bay, so the Packers should be used to it. The Titans might not be. Let's talk Friday Night Football. Let's go over what happened on Friday night. Alvin Kamara, 6 touchdowns, winning a lot of third-place games, what it seems like, since he didn't really do that well last week. So I think a lot of teams with him, from what I've heard, what I'm seeing in my leagues, he's playing for third in most leagues at best. I haven't seen him in a final yet. A team that we beat in one of our leagues had him, and he's playing for a third-place game. In my other league, he's playing for a third-place game. He may be in one of my dynasty finals, but I don't believe so. I just don't think he made the playoffs even. So Alvin Kamara is the blank overall pick in 2021.
Good question. Are we talking PPR here?
Always PPR.
I will say he is. I'll say he's pick 4.
Wow. Okay, give me your top 3.
Christian McCaffrey, I think, still sticks up there. Derrick Henry, and Dalvin Cook.
Those are not the names I was expecting to hear. Dalvin Cook, I was. Derrick Henry, I was not. I will say Alvin Kamara is the number 2 overall pick in 2021, and we'll talk about that a bit later on as we go over the year in review stuff. Drew Brees looked awful. If he doesn't retire, is he a top 15 QB in 2021?
Well, he didn't have Michael Thomas, so that probably hurt a little bit. Top 15, it's probably right around that border.
So he's not a starting quarterback. You do think he'll retire, though?
I think it depends on how they do. If they don't win the Super Bowl, I think he's back.
And Taysom Hill sticks around and Winston goes somewhere else?
I think they're going to hold on to Winston, or they're going to try, because I think that's who they eventually will want to put the ball in his hands over Taysom.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Even how well Taysom played in those games?
Yeah, I heard that after Taysom even had started, I heard something out in New Orleans that they still expect Winston to take over for Brees.
Okay. Justin Jefferson is a top blank wide receiver in 2021.
He is a I'll say top 25.
Well, that's pretty not putting a number on it, but okay. Again, I'm not the biggest fan. I think he has a size issue, and if Thielen takes a step back, which surprisingly he didn't do this year, one of the busts that I thought would happen, he's able to stay healthy for most of the season and touchdown dependent his way into being a fantasy stud. Surprising to me. I think Justin Jefferson, because of his size, is able to change directions real quick, and he runs a lot of good routes doing that. But if they start pressing him at the line the way Green Bay did in that one game where he was just being shoved to the ground when he was trying to run a route, he's going to have a problem because he's 6'1", 6'2", 180 pounds?
Yeah, he's pretty thin.
He's very thin, and if he becomes a one and starts getting pressed by top corners, I think he's going to run into an issue where he's going to have to put on size. And if he puts on size, I don't think he's going to have that route running ability where he can just change direction as quickly as he does. And they just keep letting him get off the line. Nobody ever presses him at the line.
Yeah, they're worried about. I think they're worried about getting beat deep. He's been. He's not really a deep threat, but he's
not the fastest guy. He's crafty. But, yeah, he reminds me of maybe a Chad Ochocinco, right? Where he's kind of very intelligent about the game. But Ochocinco was a ripped guy who tried to tackle Ray Lewis and block him and stuff. So he wasn't afraid of contact. This guy is built like a twig. So top 25, I think he's going to go a lot higher than that.
Right,
he's top 10 right now.
I bet you he'll go top 15.
Top 15 to 20 is probably where he's going to go. He's probably a player that I won't have too many shares of because of things that I've said. He's gonna be drafted top 20 for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll go top 10, but I think he'll go inside the top 15.
Top 10 possibly in some startup dynasties.
In Dynasty, completely different story. Yeah, in Dynasty, he could be up to a top 5 pick, depending on how much you value youth in a startup, right? Yeah. So let's talk about Irv Smith, his teammate. He will be a top blank tight end in 2021, coming off the 2-touchdown game. Kyle Rudolph missing the last 2-3 games, probably on the end, although he did sign a 4-year contract, 2 years ago? I do think they can opt out of him. But.
Yeah, there wasn't much guarantees in that, so I think that is going to be there. I don't think he'll be back, or if he is, he'll be a lot cheaper in a lesser role. Top 15 for Irv.
Okay, I would probably go closer to top 10, maybe about top 12. I do like the talent there, and I do think it's a good situation. Again, you have older players like Thielen and Rudolph clearing the way for these younger guys, and most of the coverage will be lean towards Justin Jefferson, so he'll be able to get open. Let's talk about somebody else. Michael Thomas is a blank round pick in 2021.
Now this is Saints Michael Thomas.
This is the Saints, not the Bengals Mike Thomas, who at one point was beating Michael Thomas in points.
I will say Michael Thomas is still I'll say a third.
A third round pick? Your answers are surprising me today. I thought you were going to say still a first, and I was going to disagree and say, no, I think he's a second round pick. But a third?
I was going to say late two, but I'm just going over some of the names that I think running backs are just going to go off the board crazy again.
So all the same running backs that went this year will go ahead of him.
Yeah.
And then you'll add probably Jacob. Who knows what people will do with Mixon. James Robinson may be a first or second round pick the way he's played.
You got
Gibson will be a second round pick.
I think he's he's probably still a fourth wide receiver off the board, I guess, actually.
Yeah, so he's a second round pick.
Late second. Mid second.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him going early. Just depends on what else is there. But there's no way he makes it to the third. Artek End is here saying, good afternoon. Artek End, thank you for joining us. Artek, let us know how many finals you made this year. And if you have any start-sit questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. And make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Back to what we're talking about. Saturday football. Bucks versus the Kittens. The Lions defense is as good as blank.
as good as I don't know. As good as contracting COVID.
Wow. I mean, all right, you went there.
It was bad.
Tom Brady is a top blank quarterback in 2021.
It was a terrible defense there yesterday.
Yeah, and it's not good when you get COVID.
No, and it agreed. I mean, the coaches had a little bit to do with it, I think, maybe, but not significant.
I mean, the game plan's in place, right? So,
Tom Brady is top. I think he's slightly ahead of Brees, but not much.
I think he's ahead of Brees. I think he's top 10.
Top 12, maybe. I don't know if I'd go all the way to top 10.
I would draft Mike Evans blank Chris Godwin in 2021, assuming Godwin's still a Buck. So which one are you taking first? Taking before or after Godwin?
I'm going to take Evans first.
I would take Godwin first. I think he struggled a lot with injuries, and I think he's just the better fit for Brady. And with Antonio Brown there, I think Antonio Brown's taken a lot of the targets that Godwin would get. I don't see Antonio Brown being there again next season. I think he'll probably get himself a better spot where he's not the third guy on the team, or he might just go crazy in the offseason. Who knows? But I don't see him being a Buck.
I think no, I don't see Antonio Brown staying there either. I just think that he's gone towards Evans a lot more lately, and maybe because Godwin's been hurt, but I would go with Evans.
Speaking of Antonio Brown, who do you think he'll end up playing for in 2021? If you were to pick right now, who do you think it would be?
A team that doesn't care about character issues.
Or a team that thinks they can keep him in check.
Yeah, maybe. Well, New England couldn't, and that's kind of a...
New England could. The stuff that happened in New England came out that happened before he was in New England.
I guess.
And he wasn't happy that he got cut there.
Neither was Brady.
Thinking about it.
Houston.
Houston?
Yeah.
I don't think he goes to Houston.
Well, let's say they have no wide receivers if Fuller leaves.
I think he's going to go play for a contender. They're not a contender. They're not close to being a contender.
No, they're not.
So if Corey Davis leaves, you think the Tennessee Titans would take a chance on him?
Possibly. I think Davis will probably stay. I think Davis is more likely to stay than Fuller is.
Right, but do you even want Fuller, right? I mean, I guess he could go be the guy in Houston if he was there. What about the Green Bay Packers? That's a team that could keep him in check?
They're not going to. From what I've heard, they have no interest in that.
It's because of the cold feet? His feet will be too cold
exactly.
there? All right. Deandre Smith is a top blank running back in 2021.
And this is assuming they don't draft or bring in anybody that's really.
Why would they? They just drafted this guy in the second round.
Because it's the Lions.
And Carrion will still be there. Agent Peterson probably will not be there. If you are watching and you have questions about who to start and who to sit this week, make sure to drop them in the comments, and we will answer them as we go over kind of our year in review and going over the games from the weekend.
I'll put Swift top 15.
That sounds about right. What about Kenny Galladay, assuming he's still on the line, and so is Stafford?
Top.
I'll say top 15 as well.
I was going to say top 15. I'd like to see what this hip thing ended up being because he was out forever with it.
He was. Lions have to hire the 49ers defensive coordinator.
Robert Saleh?
Yeah.
They don't have to.
I mean, did you not see the defense yesterday?
Yeah, it'd be good. Yeah, there's him. There's the offensive coordinator for Kansas City.
I don't think they need offense. They need defense.
Yeah, they do, but Matt Patricia was supposed to be a defensive guy too, and that didn't help.
Matt Patricia was just a big bag of shit. Let's talk about the 49ers and Cardinals. Let's talk about Brandon Ayuk's future value. If you owned him in a dynasty league, what would you trade him for draft pick-wise?
Draft pick-wise?
Of course, always rookie draft picks.
That's a tough one. First and something else.
Oh, I'd take a second. An early second would be fine with me. And even on draft day, I'd take a mid-second. I think we saw yesterday when he's not the number one guy, his value just sinks. And he's stuck there with a bad quarterback tandem, like whether it's Mullins, whether it's Beathard, or whether it is Jimmy G. Whoever's that quarterback, they're not going to be throwing. It's a run-first team. So there's only room for 1 to 2 players, and I think Debo's still well ahead of him as well. So I'll take a second for him and sell high.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think he's worth minimum a first.
Comment here from Derek Riel. Good morning, fellas. Got to decide between Tyron Johnson, Chargers, DJ Chark, Jacksonville, and Juju not dancing on the logos today for my wide receiver spot. I kind of want to go with Juju just because I think this is like he's got something to prove today after what happened last week. I don't know if you saw somewhere on Instagram, somebody was like, hey, you should probably just play Juju just in case there's a point correction. And he had already won, but he played Juju on Monday night and then lost.
Really? How did he lose?
Because Juju had a fumble and didn't have any yards.
But he still had like 30 yards. That should outweigh that fumble.
No, he didn't have 30 yards. I'll look it up right now while you answer the question.
He got like a 20-something yard catch at the end of the game, I thought. I'm going to go Juju as well. I wouldn't trust the Charger wide receiver. And I mean, it's close with DJ Chark and Juju, but yeah, I'd go Juju. I think he's safer.
3 for 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he was at like -6 at that one point. Yeah. Okay.
So with the fumble, -2. If you're playing in standard scoring, he's -0.5. And that was enough to lose the game since he was up by like less than half a point. Thanks for the question, Derek. Make sure that like button. Moving on to Debo Samuel is a top blank wide receiver in 2021.
Oh, Debo.
See, I think this is going to be kind of a steal because he's had basically the year off. People are going to forget about him, and he's going to fall like he did this year. Like this year, he fell because he was injured, and I can see him going as like the 35th or 40th wide receiver off the board and returning top 25 value.
I was debating between top 25 and top 30. Just injuries concerning now, but yeah, he was falling big time. Like in one of my auctions, I was able to get him for $1 at the end.
In a redraft auction?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the one league where I drafted him, I got him in the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th round, 10 teams. So inside the top 100. He was going around the likes of like Hayden Hearst and Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
So
I'd say, I mean, the top 25 is pretty attainable for him. Like he's got more than enough talent. And when he did play and was fully healthy, he was starting to display it.
So he's a top 25 guy. What's Brandon Ayuk next year? And why do you need a first-round pick for a guy who's not going to be a top 25 wide receiver? Or do you think Ayuk is going to be ahead of Debo next year?
It's kind of hard to say that he's not going to be. I think he's going to be on the field more right now.
Well, this season, but
I mean, I think they're going to be pretty similar.
I don't disagree that they might be close, but I still want Debo ahead of Brandon Ayuk. I mean, like, I don't remember Debo having any games like Ayuk did yesterday where he had one catch, regardless of who the quarterback was.
Well, the games that he's left with injury, maybe.
Well, the games last year, I mean, when it was just him and Kittle. Like yesterday was just Ayuk and Kittle, and Ayuk didn't do anything. Yeah. Anyways, let's move on to the Cardinals. Kenyon Drake will be a running back for which team in 2021?
I'm going to say Cardinals.
Really? They do like him, and they do give him a lot of touches. So it'll be the three of them again, him, Chase, another one-year deal, or do you think they give him a little bit more term?
I'm going to say they'll give him a little bit of term, not a ton.
2-year deal?
Like 2 to 3.
2 to 3. All right. What round will George Kittle be drafted in 2021? And more importantly, what round would you take him in?
He will be drafted in round 3, early 3rd.
I agree. I think because he hasn't played much, he's fallen a bit from this previous season. I think the fact that he came out yesterday and had almost 100 yards on limited snaps was very impressive. I'm sure he'll have a big game next week as he just wants to play and help out the Bears. What round would you take him in, though?
I'd take him in. I'd never get him. I'd take him in round 5.
Wow, I would easily take him in 4. I would debate him late 3rd. We've seen what the tight end position this year has been. Is he the second tight end, or is he the 3rd tight end after Waller next year?
I think he's still number 2.
Still number 2, and Waller would go in the same round as him, though?
Yeah, they're close.
Let's talk about the epic conclusion to the Dolphins Raiders game. What's wrong with Tua, though? What's the issue?
I just feel like that was just – it was kind of weird. They didn't let him throw the ball.
And he was pressured a whole lot more on his plays than when Fitz got in there. Fitz didn't see any pressure. So I'm not sure if they just weren't worried about the deep throw with Tua, so they were just like, let's send more guys because they're not letting him throw. But it was very odd to see. I do think he looks awkward handing the ball off. I don't know if it's because he's a lefty and has to run around or something, but it looks like it's a really slow handoff. That's something that
used to that. I mean,
but yeah, he was pressured a lot, and Fitzpatrick wasn't. So it could be play calling. I mean, they don't have a lot of weapons, and Fitzpatrick is just going to throw whatever to whoever, no fear of getting picked off.
But there were things during the game yesterday, and I didn't double check any of the stats, so it could be the announcers were just being wrong. But they said Tua took more deep shots than Fitz if you compare all their games together, their stats.
All their games?
The games that Tua started versus the games that Fitz started.
I mean, it could be, but just yesterday wasn't.
No.
He's had good games and he's had bad games. It's just figuring out which one he's going to be. And I think maybe they're trying to be too safe with ball security. Maybe he's too safe with ball security where he doesn't want to take the shot unless it's there. And a deep shot is not a dangerous throw. If you overthrow your receiver, nobody's catching it. But if you're throwing into double coverage deep, that's where if you underthrow it a bit, then you could be in trouble. We do have a question here from MN Sizzle 1. Mike Williams, Zeke Elliott, or T.Y. Hilton? I'm going to go Mike Williams here.
I'm going to go Mike Williams too, especially if you need that PPR ceiling.
When he's the number one guy, Mike Williams tends to really ball out, and he'll be the number one guy today. I know Keenan Allen is kind of maybe going to play, but
after last week, is anybody trusting Keenan Allen?
Yeah, you can't trust him even if it goes out there. Raiders take the field goal, not the touchdown. The right choice, Matt?
I was debating this the whole time, even before I saw what happened. And I was trying to think, well, do I want the other team to have 25 seconds and need a field goal, or have
a minute to get a touchdown?
And a touchdown. I think I would rather have them get a touchdown.
Yeah, because you don't need that much to get into field goal range. I mean, one good kickoff return and you're there. But you should go to the 2-point convert, right? If you go with the touchdown, get the 2-point convert, then they need the touchdown and the extra point. Because they were down, I think. Well, they lost by 1 point.
Yeah.
So a field goal won in the game. If it was a field goal ties in the game, maybe it makes sense.
Yeah.
But and again, Josh Jacobs, a lot of people saying karma for what he did a couple weeks ago, saying I'm not playing, and then not scoring the touchdown for fantasy owners. And I get he was a coach's call, not his, but it turned out to be the wrong one. And I do think it is the wrong one if a field goal wins the game. If a field goal ties the game, or they stop to score a touchdown, then it's the right call. But you can't do it when the field goal wins the game for them. Nelson Algolar, is he a real thing? And if so, what's his 2021 rank with the Raiders?
I don't think he's a real thing. I think he's the wide receiver.
So undrafted for you. There's no way you're drafting him in any league in 2021.
If he's sitting there in the last 2 rounds, sure.
But is he a last 2-round type of guy? And if with the Raiders, with their 2 rookie receivers from this year, and maybe Tyrell Williams coming back next year, is he still a thing, or does he need to go somewhere else? If he goes somewhere else, he'll become a thing.
Someone will take him higher, I think.
I'm agreeing with you. I don't think he's a thing.
I think he'll go somewhere else. They've got Ruggs and Edwards and
possibly Williams still.
I can't see them sticking around.
Got a question from C. Chav. Mike Williams, T.Y. Hilton versus Steelers, John Brown or Cam Sims? Going to go Mike Williams here again. Matt?
Yeah, Mike Williams, one of those guys.
I mean, I don't see how this one's any closer than the last one. T.Y. Hilton would still be the number one choice here.
After Mike Williams.
Yeah, but Mike Williams is the number one choice. Mike Gesicki, sleeper top 5 tight end in 2021? Yes or no?
Sleeper top 5? I don't think he gets in there. Not in the top 5.
Okay, who's your top 5 for next year? Kittle, Kelsey, Waller.
Andrews, I think it's still put ahead of Gesicki, and I'd put Hawkinson ahead of him still.
Okay. He currently is number 8, by the way.
So that would be Well, that puts him out of the top 5. I mean,
yes, but he's also going to have another year with his quarterback. He's also missed a game, and they used a lot of 3 tight ends for no reason whatsoever. I think, like I said, he's a sleeper top 5 tight end. I think he's a startable tight end.
Top 10 for sure. Yeah.
I regret not trying to go after him when he had the rough stretch this year in dynasty leagues. But Matt, we've talked enough about the games that have happened. Let's talk about the year-end awards.
Ooh.
I hope you came ready.
Not particularly. I'm trying to figure out a way to put Mike Williams in my DraftKings lineup.
Oh, I see. Who's your top quarterback of the year?
It is going to be.
So again, a lot of things to consider here. We're not talking about sleepers. All right, so we're talking about guys that were drafted as basically starting quarterbacks, starting running backs, starting wide receivers, starting tight ends that have done the best. So yes, Kyler Murray is the number 1 current quarterback. Didn't have the best game yesterday. That plays into this. But his cost was also like a 5th-round pick? Patrick Mahomes is a 2nd-round pick. He's right behind him. So who is your quarterback of the year? Mine is Aaron Rodgers. He was barely a top 12 in ADP, and he's currently sitting 4th. I would give Kyler Mahomes, and even Josh Allen deserves some consideration. Kyler had a tough game yesterday, or else he'd be the clear number 2 because he was ahead of Mahomes through 15 weeks. But I'm sure Mahomes will probably finish ahead of him. After Mahomes has a big game today, he is in my FanDuel lineup. Mm-hmm. Matt, you agree, or do you have somebody else?
There's Justin Herbert can be in there too.
Justin Herbert was not drafted as a quarterback that's starting. That's not part of this award.
Oh, I see.
Now we'll get to the sleeper quarterbacks, and we'll get to waiver wire quarterbacks, as we will do for all other.
Rodgers, Rodgers is out of the guys that were drafted around the top 12, then Rodgers.
Okay, what about your top running back? Again, so we're looking at guys who are in the top 25 to 30 here. We had Kamara with his breakout performance, not breakout, but record-tying performance on Friday. He currently sits as the number 1. Going into this week, he was number 1, 0.3 points ahead of Cook. He is now way more than 0.3 points ahead of Cook, and will finish as the number 1 running back. Your boy Derrick Henry was actually 40 points back of both of them. Cook did miss a game, though. So who is your number 1 running back? I'm sure mine will be different than yours. Mine was drafted in the 6th round.
Let's see here. I mean, I don't really want to pick a guy that went in round 1.
I mean, you could if he's been that good. Like Christian McCaffrey would have been the guy last year as the top running back of the year, even though he was drafted in round 1.
I know, but I mean, we're talking guys that are drafted in the top 24-ish,
24 to 30. Mine is Kareem Hunt. He was drafted around 28, and he is currently the number 8 running back.
Yeah, he's been way too up and down for me. Maybe.
You're going to say David Montgomery?
Maybe Antonio Gibson. No, Montgomery was too bad at the beginning.
Antonio Gibson was way deeper than that. Antonio Gibson is a sleeper.
Well, but after Geis was suspended / cut.
Geis's ADP is way lower than that. But don't worry, we'll get to him. He'll win an award.
All right.
So you going with Kamara, or do you want to go with Henry?
I'll go with Henry then.
Okay, you'll go with the guy with the 3rd most points. Honorable mention for me, also David Montgomery. His playoff stretch has him as a top 6 running back for the year. He was not great for a long time, but looks like they figured it out. Let's get to a tougher award, the top wide receiver of the year. Again, we're looking at top 25 to 30 guys that were drafted to be a wide receiver, not to be a flex, but to be as your top wide receiver. And again, we can go a little bit deeper because it is wide receiver, sometimes picking 3.
How about I'll go Diggs?
Yeah, that's my pick as well. Stephon Diggs, and I can admit that I was wrong on it. Somebody retweeted my tweet from the offseason where I said that be careful what you wish for as Stephon Diggs goes to a worse situation in Buffalo. But Josh Allen really turned the corner today. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the games where they talk about his new throwing mechanic and the thing that he picked up from Aaron Rodgers where he opens his hip differently, so he's a lot more accurate now. So, I mean, you can't really predict something like that. Josh Allen was a very inaccurate passer before that. But I still thought Diggs was going to be good. I think he was slept on. I got him as like my third or fourth wide receiver as a flex, basically, in leagues where I would go wide receiver heavy to start. But yeah, he's definitely there. DK Metcalf would be an honorable mention for me as well. He was basically in the top 20 and now is in the top 5, but Diggs was outside the top 25. So we agree on that one. Let's get to the easiest award of the night. The top tight end of the year is
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce wins it. He came into the week averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. That's 4 more than Waller, and Waller is 5 more than whoever's in third place. So he's 9 points clear of third place per game. Yeah. And again, honorable mention would be Darren Waller. He's the only other person who would even have a sniff at this award. But now let's talk about the sleeper quarterback of the year. So this is not somebody who was picked up off waivers. This is somebody who would have been like, you thought, you know what? I believe in this guy. He's going to be drafted. He's going to be way better than his draft position. And I'll give you a couple names and you can pick the winner. Number 1 is Ryan Tannehill, and number 2 is Teddy Bridgewater. Who do you want? Oh, also Kirk Cousins. Tannehill is the winner for this. He was drafted outside the top 20 and finished inside the top 10. He is 7th currently, not done yet. Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy B, I'll just go with that, is another one who finished a good distance above his draft spot. He went from 26 to 16, and surprisingly, Kirk Cousins is QB 11, not including his game on Friday. So it'll be his best finish for the Vikings, and he was drafted outside the top 20. So let's go to the sleeper running back of the year, and this is the one you mentioned earlier. This is Antonio Gibson. He was drafted barely inside the top 50, barely inside the top 200, and is now almost top 10, looking to play today. Here are some great names that were drafted before him. Matt Breida, Kerryon Johnson.
Nice.
There's really not anybody else to mention. Ronald Jones would be the only one, and that was more of like, what was the situation and when did you draft? Yeah. But yeah, that was also an easy one. Sleeper wide receiver of the year. Matt, who is your pick here?
So I'm assuming there's another category because you didn't bring up James Robinson yet.
He was not. He was outside the top 200. So people drafted outside the top 200 weren't drafted. So they were waiver wire guys.
Even after Fournette was gone.
Who?
Even after Fournette was gone.
I mean, it depends on when you draft. I'm just going with the ADP data that I have.
Sleeper wide receiver, Cole Beasley?
No. Cole Beasley was drafted outside the top 200.
Oh, yeah? Okay, good for him.
Who's drafting Cole Beasley?
I don't know. People?
With John Brown and Diggs, who's drafting Cole Beasley? Come on, man. It's Justin Jefferson. Yeah, okay. It's a pretty easy pick here. We talked about him earlier. Last 6 or 7, he's been either 85-plus yards or 70 and at least 1 touchdown. He was drafted around wide receiver 50. There's nobody else close to that except for Robbie Anderson, who was drafted after him, who's also had a good year. And had it not been for Justin Jefferson, Robbie Anderson would get this award. There are plenty of names that are outside the top 200 that we're going to have to discuss later. A tough decision to be made there, including Cole Beasley, who will be nominated for the award. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Sleeper tight end of the year. And again, we're looking for guys who had been drafted outside the top 12 here. That would have
creeped up. ADP here. Was Hawkinson outside top 12?
He was. Oh, he's the one who takes it for me. Some other guys outside the top 12, Fant, Gesicki, and even Jonnu Smith, who hasn't done much recently, but started off hot and was a pretty decent sleeper at tight end. So now we're going to talk about the waiver wire quarterback. These are quarterbacks that weren't drafted at all. Nobody took them. They were on the waiver wire after the draft. Somebody picked them up, like me in our Yahoo League, and now we're dominating with him in the finals. Who's your pick, Matt?
It's going to be Justin Herbert. Is what? Your mic went funny.
Is your DraftKings lineup set?
Oh, no, I stopped playing with it. Well, Herbert's the answer to the question, though.
Herbert is the answer. Do you have an honorable mention?
I guess Derek Carr could be an honorable mention.
Incorrect. The answer I was looking for was Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, who is winning fantasy leagues now. Jalen Hurts is a top blank quarterback next year. They had a Brady?
10 maybe, 10 to 12.
I think we're going to have to see. We've had, 2 games with him, and they've both been pretty good. So right now, I think he's top 10. I think you're going to take him before guys like Matt Ryan or Matt Stafford. Aaron Rodgers would be the one. Do you want him or Aaron Rodgers? But I think he's in that conversation with his running. Like, he's up there. He's in the top 10 for sure right now. Again, he's only played 2 games, but there's only 16 games in the year. So moving on to running back waiver wire of the year, and this one's very obvious as well, although there is a very good honorable mention. James Robinson is the answer here.
Okay. That's what I was going to pick.
Honorable mention, there's 2, and then 3 others that are not as good.
Mike Davis?
Mike Davis is one of them, not the big one that I was thinking of. The big one I was thinking of is really helping people win their fantasy football championship if you started them.
Tony Pollard?
No, Tony Pollard is not going to help anybody win their championship. But Myles Gaskin sure will, since he went off yesterday.
And Jeff Wilson?
Pardon?
And Jeff Wilson?
Jeff Wilson could also be on this list, but I just don't think he's had the long enough sample size. 1 week plug and play doesn't really get you the award for the year. Some other honorable mentions, people have done pretty well, are Naheem Hines and Wayne Gallman, but not on the same level as the other people. But injuries, I mean, even Joe Bernard could be mentioned here after his decent week last week, but he hasn't done much other than that. Waiver wire wide receiver of the year. Here are the nominees: Cole Beasley, Corey Davis, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Antonio Brown, and Chase Claypool. Who is your pick, Matt?
I'll say Beasley just because he's been pretty consistent.
Beasley is the correct answer. He is wide receiver 16. Now, fun fact, Corey Davis, Ayuk, Higgins, and Claypool are ranked 27 to 30th in the rankings. It goes Claypool, Davis, Ayuk, and Higgins, not counting yesterday's game. That is where they came into the weekend. So a lot of good wide receivers that can be plug and plays in your flex can be found after the draft is basically what I'm trying to say here. Waiver wire tight end of the year. Matt, who is your pick here?
Robert Tonyan.
Robert Tonyan is correct, but it's very close with Logan Thomas. There's only 1 point per game separating them. And I also want to mention Dalton Schultz here, who is a top 10 tight end in total points, who has been an absolute gem for people who drafted some terrible tight ends. But now we're going to get to the fun category, what everybody's been waiting for, and that's the busts. We're going to start with the quarterback bust of the year. Matt, who is your quarterback bust of the year?
Bust of the year? I mean, I'm not going to say he's a bust.
So, again, we're looking at, when we talk busts, we're talking about average points, right? So a guy like Dak, who was absolutely amazing and then missed a bunch of games, isn't a bust because his point per game average was absolutely amazing. So we're looking at guys that average wasn't up to what we expected as to where they were drafted, not total points.
I mean, you could pick maybe Carson Wentz.
That's who I would pick. Losing your job is a pretty big deal when you're drafted. It's not an injury. An injury you can understand, but losing your job, you just weren't good enough. He actually wasn't that bad, as you mentioned. He had a better average than Stafford and was right up there with Matt Ryan and Big Ben. I think Drew Brees and Matt Ryan both deserve dishonorable mention here, as they finished about half of what their draft spot was. So about 6 to 12, 7 to 14 on fantasy points. And I'm not even counting Dak in that. So they're actually a spot further with Dak. And Mariota, who is number 2 overall in points per game with his 1 game. I do also want to mention, sorry, were you saying something?
I was going to say, how about Lamar? You could even think about him in this award.
I'm going to say Lamar he was drafted 1st or 2nd overall, and he's finishing 7th. Mm-hmm. So he's not terrible, but for what you paid for him to have that result, I mean, he's barely ahead of Herbert.
Yeah.
You could have gotten Herbert for free and used your 2nd-round pick or 3rd-round pick on Stephon Diggs, and people would have said, what a reach, and you would have won your league.
Yeah.
The rule, Matt, what's the rule about drafting quarterbacks?
You wait on quarterbacks.
Hey, there you go. Hopefully you'll listen next year. Because it's not really worth getting Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd to just be the same thing as Kyler Murray is in the 5th. who's not that much better than Aaron Rodgers is in the 15th round or whatever it is. So let's talk about the running back bust of the year. There are a lot of underperformers here. A lot.
We're not talking about the guys that are injured all year, though, eh?
We're talking about average per game, right? So if you were injured all year, like Christian McCaffrey still has the highest average per game this season. Saquon Barkley, not so much. But at the same time, you played 2 games and went away. And technically, you only played 1 game because you got injured in the second game. So your average is really misleading. So we're looking at guys who have terrible averages. I'll name you some guys that don't win this award but are on the list.
Okay.
James Conner.
Okay.
Todd Gurley.
Yep.
Miles Sanders.
Okay.
Well, he's top 10. He's like at 20 right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Or Elaire, sorry. Ezekiel Elliott. Top 15 guy. David Johnson, who might have a huge game today against the Bungles. But there are 2 names that stand above the rest as absolute complete busts. One of them is averaging under 5 fantasy points per game, and the other is averaging 7. This is PPR. They were drafted in the 20th for the 7 points per game and 25th for the 5 points per game. Who are they? I'll give you a hint. One could be a monster today, and one will definitely have 0 points today.
So one's Lev Bell.
One is Lev Bell. He's the one who could be a monster today, and he is at 7 points per game, being drafted inside the top 20, has been a huge bust, but has held value as a handcuff play, and that value, I mean, if he has a big game today, I don't think we can give him the award, but today hasn't happened yet, so is it him or is it the other guy?
All right, what was your clue on the other one?
He's averaging under 5 points per game. He was drafted around the top 25, and he will get 0 points in his game today.
That's because it's a Mark Ingram.
It is Mark Ingram, the healthy scratch.
Yes, okay.
So who do you think is the bust? I mean, one guy's a healthy scratch. So I want to lean Ingram, but I mean, if Bell has a bad game today, because he's going to cost you a championship, it's Bell. And that's my take on it.
Yeah, I had a lot more expectations out of Bell this year than I did with Mark Ingram.
I mean, I don't disagree, but he also got traded mid-season to a situation that was possibly better. Oh, yeah, cut and signed. Yeah, so, I mean, both of them terrible. The award on the line today, Bell needs a good performance. Not like 60 yards. He needs to score, and he needs a lot of yards. Okay, some bust wide receiver of the year as we're wrapping up this. We only got a couple more, then we'll get to our very quick rankings fight. But before we do have a question from Artec N. David Johnson, Gibson, and Lev Bell need to sit one of them. I would sit Lev Bell.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the one I'd sit too.
It's between him and Gibson for me. Yeah. And as much as we're not confident Bell's going to get the work, I'm also not confident Gibson's going to get most of the work, but I'm more confident that Gibson gets more of the work than Bell does. And with no McLaurin, what's this passing game? Like,
I think Haskins starting over Alex Smith also hurts Gibson a bit, or hits
Gibson.
Because it's going to be Alex Smith look towards the running backs a lot more than Haskins.
Do you think it's possible that they line up McKissick mostly as a wide receiver all day and then just have Gibson in the backfield since they don't have another wide receiver?
It's possible. I mean, I could see that happening with Kareem Hunt a lot today.
Yeah. Kareem Hunt, number 1 wide receiver for the Browns today, no question.
I mean, yeah. I think it's possible McKissick lines up quite a bit in the wide receiver / slot positions, but I'm going to say less than Kareem Hunt.
All right. It's bust wide receiver time. Here are some of the nominees for busts that didn't win, because there's one bust that stands above all others. And again, we're talking about average points per game here. So Juju was 14th overall drafted, and he's currently wide receiver 28 on average. Odell Beckham Jr., although was injured, he was drafted 11th overall wide receiver and was at 37th overall when he got injured. Got a comment here from Biohazard. Hunt, Gibson, JT, pick 2, half PPR. Sit Gibson.
Yeah.
Hunt and Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor's missing his 2 starting offensive tackles. Will hurt that, though.
Still good with Jonathan Taylor. Kenny Galladay was drafted 8th overall, finished on average 35th.
These guys that are hurt like all year, I don't really want to get.
You're not going with total points, so this is what they've done in the games that are healthy.
But then they're also factoring the games that they left too.
Sure. Okay. DJ Chark, wide receiver 40.
There's
Parker,
one.
42. Marquise Brown, wide receiver 50s. But here's the number one and the winner. He's currently and will finish on average as wide receiver 39. He's left 1 game. And he was drafted as the 1st overall wide receiver, and that's Michael Thomas.
Yeah, the injured guys.
What games has he left? He left his game like week 1.
Yeah, it's true. I guess. And week 1 he left at the end of the game too. So
okay, who is the better value this year, Michael Thomas or Debo? They both played 7 games, and Michael Thomas has 3.2 more points overall than him.
it's obviously Debo because of the capital he put into Michael Thomas.
Exactly. So, I mean, how is that not bust of the year? Debo would be considered a bust for how he's played. I mean, you can't be like barely inside the top 40 as the number 1 wide receiver. If you want to say Marquise Brown gets it, I'm okay with that. But he's come on pretty strong lately. If it wasn't for that, he'd probably be like wide receiver 70 and might win the award. But let's move on. Do you have another bust? Kenny Galladay's been pretty bad.
He has, but again, I don't like to pick on the fellas that have been injured.
So you want Juju?
I mean, you could put Julio Jones in that mix too.
No, Julio Jones on average is like top 10. Like Julio Jones is averaging a fantastic number. He just hasn't played. Again, this is based on average. It's not based on total points. Julio Jones averaging 16.2 points per game in 9 games. He has 146.1 points in 2 more games than Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas has 83. It's not close. We're not just targeting guys that are injured. It's all about average here.
You should be targeting the injured guys.
It should be targeting.
I don't see anybody else here. I'm just going through the wide receiver lists.
I mean, you want T.Y. Hilton? T.Y. Hilton's been worse.
Yeah, but he's been better lately too.
And he was also drafted about 60 spots or 40 spots after their number 1 overall guy.
Yeah. All right, give it to Michael Thomas.
I mean, Odell Beckham's been better than Michael Thomas in the games that they played. So is Brandon Cooks. So is Crowder.
Well,
so is Chad Hansen. And Cole Beasley for sure has. Yeah, Julio Jones not close. Julio Jones is close to the top 10 on average. So let's talk about the tight end bust of the year. Matt, do you remember who this one is?
Is it Evan Ingram?
No, it's Zach Ertz. How do you always get this wrong?
I always forget about Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I even wrote Zach Ertz in case you forgot. He was drafted as tight end 4, and again, on average, in the games that he's played, he has an average equal to tight end 25. Some other bad ones, because there are a lot, which shows that the tight end position is all about the waiver wire. Austin Hooper, drafted close to the top 10, on average, tight end 24. 1 spot ahead of Ertz. Your boy Jared Cook, drafted around the top 10, tight end 23.
Why is Jared Cook my boy?
You're always fine with having him in leagues, and I keep telling you it's not going to happen. And now you know. One of the guys that I liked, and I think you liked as well, Hayden Hearst, doesn't look that bad when he was drafted 13th and finished as tight end 20. Higbee in the top 10, tight end 19, and the second worst overall, the man you named, Evan Ingram, almost top 5 in ADP, finishing as tight end 18 on average. And I mean, there are a lot of guys like Logan Thomas. Did I mention Logan Thomas when we said with
the Robert Tonyan? Yeah. But funny,
anyways,
Evan Ingram made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, Evan Ingram is the Pro Bowl is the biggest joke ever. Not even playing the game this year.
I know it's just funny.
Who's your overall fantasy MVP and who's your overall bust? Again, could be anybody. There's no limitations on this category.
I mean, kind of silly, but maybe it might even be Kelsey. Might be the MVP.
That's not a bad pick, but like I'm going to go with James Robinson as the MVP.
Wow.
I just think getting a guy for that value, like at that position too. It's not like this is a wide receiver You can even put Herbert's name in there as an MVP, but I think because of the depth at quarterback, you could have grabbed anybody and kind of made it work. Like Tannehill, Cousins, anybody could have gotten to the finals. But James Robinson, like you look at the running back position, and again, I'm not saying no to Kelsey because like he was 4 points clear of Waller, who was 5 points clear of the next best. So 9 points ahead of everybody who doesn't have Waller every week is huge.
Yep.
But you also paid a second round or an early third for him, whereas James Robinson, I mean, how many teams have just coasted to the finals on James Robinson? I know I have him in 2 leagues where I'm playing for a championship.
You can't use them.
And I can't use them, no. And I'm probably going to lose one of those games, but I'm likely going to win the other one because somebody decided to start Kittle over Gronk. Happy to see that.
I would have started Kittle over Gronk.
I was not a big fan of Kittle because of the snap count thing. I was surprised by how well he did. So your MVP is Kelsey. I'm going to go with James Robinson. Who is your bust of the year?
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with James Robinson either. Bust of the year. Who have I been really annoyed with? I mean, I guess we'll throw him back in there, Michael Thomas.
Hey, now you're back on the Michael Thomas bust train. I personally want to say Kenny Galladay because he's hurt me a lot more than Michael Thomas has. But, yeah. And, I mean, a lot of people might want to say Zeke here, but Zeke hasn't been that bad when he's played. You look at the running back position, and it's just – there's a lot of bad players there. So when he's been healthy, he's been good enough. But, yeah, Michael Thomas, to me, you draft the guy as the first wide receiver. He's your first-round pick. Forget the injuries to CMC and that. When he's played, he's been about wide receiver 40. So it has to be him for me. So we agree on that.
There you go.
Let's get into our rankings fight real quickly before we wrap up our final show of the year. I want to thank everybody who's joined us this year. But let's go into the rankings fight real quick. Matt, I have J.K. Dobbins at 24. You like him a lot. You have him at 12. Again, he's not a sit candidate, but what do you like so much about him this week? Of course, Ingram is a healthy scratch. Double-digit touches since week 6, minus the 1 week he missed with COVID. But he's never gotten 20 touches, and Gus Edwards is still there. What do you like to put him so high in your ranking? You have him above guys like Melvin Gordon, who doesn't have Phillip Lindsay to contend with today, and is getting the revenge game of all revenge games against the Chargers.
But he didn't do anything in his last revenge game. Like, it was right there when he played the Chargers last time.
Yeah, this time's going to be different.
Oh, I see. I mean, I'd move him down 1 because I'd put Kareem Hunt probably higher than him now with that mess that's went on in Cleveland.
Okay. But you have him ahead of, like, Chris Carson.
Yeah, by a couple spots. I just think that Carson has a bad matchup.
It is a bad matchup, and Carson hasn't been getting that many touches. And again, I'm not criticizing. I have Carson kind of in the middle of this. So you really like Dobbins this week against the matchup against the Giants?
Giants is a good matchup there. I think they're going to be up, so they'll be running it a little bit more. I think that he's going to be approaching 20 touches by now. I kind of assume Mark Ingram wouldn't be a thing anymore.
No, he's not a thing anymore. Let's talk about Cole Beasley. We got John Brown back this week, yes?
Is he for sure playing?
I'm not sure. I was hoping you had the answer to that. Are they playing early? They're playing late?
They're playing Monday night.
Okay. I assumed he was playing because they took him. I thought he might be playing last week, but he didn't play last week. You have him at 23. I'm at 32. If John Brown is playing, for sure, would you drop him from 23 to lower?
Maybe a couple spots, but not a ton. I'd still put him in the starter-ish category.
Okay, you got CeeDee Lamb outside the top 45. I have him inside the top 35. He's the last guy on our list to talk about for the year. Disappointing year for him with that going down.
Mm-hmm.
Had 6 targets in 4 of his last 5, so to me, that's a guy that's going to be inside the top 40, especially with his talent, what he can do after the catch.
If you can guarantee he's going to get another onside kick return for a touchdown, I'd put him higher.
I cannot guarantee that, but I can guarantee he'll get 5+ targets.
That's not startable, though.
No, it's not startable. I mean, I am at 34, but we're talking about, like, who are some other guys that are going to be in that range with those target numbers? Like, I guess, like Michael Pittman. I would rather start CeeDee Lamb over Michael Pittman.
Okay, I mean, sure, you can maybe argue that.
You really like Jalen Reagor as well. I didn't see that one. Yeah, I'm at 32. I'm at 64. I just don't think that you know that Deshaun Jackson's back this week too, right?
Yeah, I did see that afterwards, but the Cowboys secondary is atrocious, and I still think he's probably still the number one wide receiver there. The tight ends get a ton of targets though too. But I do like Reagor this week. If I was going to pick a Philly wide receiver to start, it would be him.
I just think there are too many wide receivers, and they just kind of scatter them. Like Fulham's still there. Greg Ward had the game last week. I think Alshon caught one pass for a touchdown. It's too crowded of a situation, and it's more about Hurts running, so it's less throwing. And then Miles Sanders is more involved now, which is good. But I can't trust anybody on that team.
Real quick,
I don't have him anywhere in the starting lineup.
Real quick, start sit. Jalen Reagor versus Mecole Hardman.
Is Tyreek Hill 100%?
He's playing, but
I go with Mecole Hardman in the hopes that Tyreek Hill might have to sit out, or that it'll be a blowout and they'll start passing it to Hardman. I don't want Reagor. I'll take Hardman over Reagor.
This is one of my third place games.
Yeah, I have Hardman way ahead of him.
I have Hardman in DFS.
I have Mike Williams in my one DFS that I did this morning real quick.
I just put Mike Williams in mine too.
And I also have the revenge game of revenge games.
Mike Glennon?
I didn't even think of that. Mike Glennon versus the Bears. The ultimate revenge game. Yeah. How dare you cut me for Trubisky? Look how bad he is.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is the ultimate. No, I have Melvin Gordon. I can't remember the other running back I got, though. I got Miles Sanders.
And David Johnson.
I got Mahomes and Watkins, actually, and Kelsey as my stack.
I got Kelsey and Mahomes, too.
Just FYI, Amari Cooper was really cheap at 6,600 in FanDuel. I know you don't play that one, but that's going to wrap it up for the year. This is the last live show of the year, and I don't mean just like 2020. I mean like until next season for live shows. I don't see us doing a live show until then. We might do some videos, but I don't see us doing a live show where we answer questions. I don't know.
I agree. I don't. Yeah, there'll probably be like a recap show maybe, and some
a recap of the positions and kind of what to expect. A way too early top 10 coming, and then a whole lot more videos in the off season than last season. So just thanks to everybody for joining us this year, and we expect to be bigger and better next year. We might have to find a new ranker because I think Mr. Black might be out, or we might just do the IDP, which he seemed pretty excited about.
Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah.
Maybe.
Anything to add before we wrap this up for the year?
No. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. Like and subscribe, as Ben always says.
That's it.